in a land touched by ancient magic, where stars whispered secrets to those with...
This is the tale of Elisa, true.
In this modest cottage lived young Elisa, kept as little more than a servant by her cruel stepmother who had long forgotten kindness. Each day before dawn, Elisa rose to cook, to scrub, to fetch water from the well, while her stepmother slept in comfort.
By the way, in medieval Europe, household servants typically worked 16-hour days with no rest days.
You lazy, useless child! The water buckets are empty again and the fire has gone cold! Must I do everything myself? And I want all the wool in the barn spun into thread by nightfall, or there will be no supper for you tonight. Do you understand me, girl?
Despite every cruelty, Elisa never answered with anger. She carried her burdens quietly, holders. The task was impossible for one person in a single day, yet Elisa set to work without complaint.
In her loneliest hours, Elisa would dream of a life beyond the barn walls. One cold autumn morning, sent by her stepmother to gather firewood deep in the forest. The forest seemed to breathe around her, whispering in a language she almost understood. As if...
Then, beside a great ancient oak draped in silver moss, she saw her, an old woman unlike any she had ever encountered.
The old woman had eyes the color of silver stars, and when she looked at Elisa, the girl felt, "Do not be afraid, dear child. I have watched over you for a long time, and I know the burden that weighs upon your gentle heart. You have a pure heart, Elisa May, and in this world, a pure heart is the most powerful magic of all. I want to trust you. I have had no one to trust for so very long. Please, God, can you truly help me?" The enchantress lifted her ancient staff, and the forest itself seemed to lean in, listening to...
By the way, in ancient folklore across Europe and Asia, a staff or wand carried by a wise woman was often believed...
With a sweep of her ancient staff, the enchantress showed Elisa a glimpse magic could...
Enchantress led Elisa to her home among the ancient trees, a place where the seasons did not quite follow the rules of the outside world.
Inside the enchantress cottage. And every shelf. To break the hold your stepmother has over your life, you must complete 3 tasks, Elisa. Not because magic 3 tokens of 3 trials.
I will do whatever it takes. I am not afraid of hard work. I have known nothing else.
The first task, to plant the golden seed in barren ground and tend it until it bloomed. For only some...
On the 7th morning, the golden flower bloomed, and it was more beautiful than anything Elisa...
Well done, Elisa. You have passed the first trial, patience. Now the second. You must show...
She poured the moon water into the dark pool, as the enchantress had instructed.
Two trials completed. One remained. Compassion, the most powerful and the most difficult of the 3.
The third trial came not in a dark forest or a barren field, but in the most ordinary of places, a village street on a busy afternoon.
Please, dear grandfather, take this. I have more at home. You need not be alone or hungry here. Is there someone I can help you find?
The old man was, of course, not truly an old man at all. But Lila did not know this.
On an instant, the ragged beggar was gone, and the enchantress herself stood before Elisa. You have passed all 3 trials, Elisa. Patience, courage, and compassion. You possess them all in full measure. The enchantress brought Elisa back to the magical cottage, now bathed in the warm light of a gold.
In the oldest fairy tales of many cultures, a magical transformation of clothing symbolized not a change of identity.
The girl who had spent years invisible, covered in flour and ash, now saw herself.
Is that truly me? I had forgotten. I had forgotten that I could look like this, that I could feel like this.
The prince, who had spent the evening dutifully greeting guests with practiced courtesy, turned toward the staircase.
He set down his glass and crossed the room without quite deciding to do so, drawn forward by something that had no rational explanation and needed none.
Good evening.
Good evening. I am Leo, and I realize I have spent years attending these balls wishing someone remarkable would walk.
I am Elisa, and I confess I have spent most of my life attending to chores rather than royal balls, Kiwi. So I am...
By the way, the waltz, which became the signature dance of European royal balls, was considered scandalously intimate when it first appeared.
I think they must look different. I know for certain that I have been standing under those same stars my whole life. Promise me you will return tomorrow evening. I could not bear to wake tomorrow knowing I might never see you again, Elisa. Please me, promise me.
She walked home through the silver forest, feeling as though the ground were slightly altered.
But even as Elisa's heart was opening, the enchantress sensed in the stars a shadow gathering at the...
Word travels fast in a kingdom, especially word about a young woman who has caught a prince's eye. Trude had long coveted a position beside the throne, and she was not the kind of woman to allow a simple farm girl in a golden...
Trude knew of darker powers than those of the enchantress. Old magic, sour...
This will make the prince forget her entirely. By tomorrow evening, he will not remember her name, her face, or a single... Trude found the prince exactly where she expected to find him, in the garden, distracted by happiness.
Hello there.
Your Highness, the king sent me to find you. He wished you to try this vintage wine from the northern vineyards as a birthday gift.
The enchanted wine tasted of nothing but sweetness. And that was the cruelest part of the dark.
The memory did not vanish all at once. It dissolved, gently and completely, like morning mist when the sun rises.
That evening, Elisa arrived at the castle full of light, certain of the welcome that awaited her.
Good evening, miss. I believe we may have met at last night's celebration, though I confess the evening is rather a blur. Are you acquainted with my family?
There is a particular pain in being forgotten by someone who, just yesterday, saw you more clearly than anyone ever had.
How charming that you came again. His Highness and I were just about to dine together. I am sure you understand.
Something has been done to him. He is not cold today. He is simply gone from himself. I could see it in his eyes.
What was done to him can only be undone by the same three qualities that brought you this far, Elisa. Come. There are three things you must find to break the forgetting curse. A flower from the moonlit meadow, a feather...
She had been sent on a difficult journey before, to fetch firewood, to draw water, to spin wool until her fingers bled.
The moonlit meadow existed between the waking world and the dreaming world. A place where the boundary...
By the way, in botanical science, certain rare flowers such as Queen of the Night and lunar orchids actually do emit more fragrance during moonlight hours.
The flower gave her a petal freely, as things that are approached with gentleness and respect. So
The mountain did not care about her story or her broken heart. It simply required that she climb. And so she climbed. The great white eagle of the White Mountain was ancient and fierce, and entirely unimpressed by anything smaller than a thunderstorm.
By the way, eagles possess 8 times the visual acuity of humans.
meaning the white eagle of this peak.
The eagle looked at her for a resting moment. The enchantress had said. She thought not of herself, not of her own grief or her own longing. She thought of him.
When the tear touched the stone, it did not was.
She carried them back to the enchantress through the night. 3 small things that together held.
The enchantress worked through the night with patient precision, combining the 3 elements according to a formula older than the kingdom itself.
By the way, the symbolism of 3-part remedies appears across world mythology, from ancient Egypt to Celtic folklore to Eastern traditions.
1 drop of this, near him, will begin to dissolve what Trude has done. But the full restoration can... Remember, Elisa, you were not made by the golden gown, or the magic, or the ball. You were made by At dawn, she set out again, yea, not as a girl who had lost everything, but as one who had...
She placed 1 drop in the village well, from which the castle drew its water in, trusting.
That morning, something began to shift in Prince Leo, like the first crack in winter ice.
Trude sensed the change, the way a cold wind senses the sun beginning to rise behind the clouds, and she worked harder to...
Please tell Prince Leo that a girl named Elisa asks to speak with him in the garden, only for a moment, in the open air.
Golden flower from a barren field. Something in those words, golden flower, barren field, moved through the locked room. She stood in the garden as herself, not as the golden-gowned girl of the ball, but as Elisa.
He saw her, in her simple dress, with her worn shoes, with her steady, earnest eyes, and
Elisa. The ball. The garden. The stars. I remember. Elisa.
I remember you.
I remember everything. I don't know how this happened or...
Trude arrived in the garden expecting to find the prince alone and under her control. Instead, she found the very thing she had most feared. Trude.
I believe we have a great deal to discuss regarding what happened to my memory high, and I believe the king and the royal council should be present for that conversation.
Before the throne of the king, the whole truth was laid bare. The dark magic, the stolen memory, the willingness to harm an innocent for the sake of ambition. This kingdom was built on justice, not on the ambitions of those willing to harm the innocent. What has been done here with Dark
Trude was sent from the kingdom with a sentence that suited the magnitude of her actions. Exile and the requirement to make restitution. The king's justice also extended to Eliza's stepmother, not with punishment alone, but with a formal accounting of what she owed Elisa.
before anything else, before celebrations or ceremonies or new beginnings, Elisa wept. When the day of celebration arrived, the whole kingdom came to honor not a ball or a crown. The celebration was full of music and light, and all the things that happen when a great wrong is righted, and I spent years looking for someone whose heart was extraordinary. I did not know I would find her and scrubbing.
I spent years thinking I was invisible. Then I learned that the problem was never whether I could be seen. It was simply...
By the way, studies in modern psychology have consistently found that the quality most associated with lasting happiness in relationships